All right, hi everyone. I am here with your 316 lesson. It is titled, How Else Can I Relate the Quantities? Investigating Ratios. Follow along as I read your introduction. In mathematics, a ratio is used to express certain relationships between two or more quantities. You were working with ratios when you expressed portions as percents and fractions. You also used ratios when you compared the portion of raisins or peanuts to the whole mix in the trail mix problem. Today, you will extend what you know about fractions to investigate more general ratios. You will learn how they can be used to compare the trail mix ingredients and much more. As you work with your team, keep the following questions in mind. How do the quantities compare? What quantities am I comparing? How can I represent the relationship? And can I represent it in another way? So we're going to start with problem 378. 378 says, Quinn just had a large pond dug on his farm and wants to stock the pond with fish. He was researching the best way to go about this when he saw the following posting on the Pond Person blog. The biggest factor to keep in mind is the predator-prey ratio. Stock the pond with 1 predator fish for every 3 prey fish. Predator fish are largemouth bass or walleye, while prey fish are perch, bluegill, or sunfish. Quinn chose walleye for his predator species and bluegills for the prey fish. He knows he will need a little over 1,000 fish total to fill a pond the size of his. With your team, discuss what you think the predator to prey ratio in this situation means. Then estimate how many of each fish, walleyes and bluegills, Quinn should buy to stock the pond while keeping the ratio of predators to prey correct. Be prepared to share your ideas with the class. So I'm going to have you pause the video now and answer 378. Okay, if you're back with me, that means you have had the time to answer 378. So remember, we want 1 predator fish for every 3 prey fish. So 1 predator fish so that means we have walleyes as our predator fish and bluegills as our prey fish, and we want 1,000 fish total. So some of you may have said that you would need 250 walleyes for 750 bluegills. So 750 and 250 is 1,000. But more than 1,000 are needed. So if you had to have more than 1,000, because it says a little over 1,000, you would have needed 251 walleyes and 753 bluegills. And there are many ways to come up with this answer, but this is about what you would like to have. You can have 250 walleyes and 750 bluegills because that puts you right at 1,000. Or if you realize because it says a little over 1,000, you would need 250 walleyes, and for every 1 predator fish, there are 3 prey fish. So then you would need to add 3 more bluegills here to get 753. We're going to move on to problem 379 now. Problem 379, on the trail again. Rowena and Polly are investigating their trail mix problem again. Rowena took a handful of the mixture and counted her raisins and peanuts. She found that she had 8 peanuts and 32 raisins in her sample. Rowena drew the following diagram to represent her sample. You can use a ratio to compare the number of peanuts or raisins in the sample to the total. If you find what percent of the sample is made up of raisins or peanuts, you are writing a special kind of ratio. It describes how many raisins or peanuts would be present if the whole sample contained 100 raisins and peanuts combined. In fact, you can use a ratio to express the relationship between any 2 quantities in the mix. A. For example, for the sample shown above, identify what each of the following ratios are comparing. For example, a ratio of 40 to 32, you would write total to raisins, because the ratio is comparing the total number 40 to the number of raisins 32. So we're going to do the first one together. A ratio of 8 to 40. Well, it tells us up here that she had 8 peanuts, and then 40 is your total because 32 plus 8 is 40. So this would be peanuts to total. I would like you to pause the video and answer 2, 3, and 4. So the rest of part A. If you're back with me, that means you have answered 2, 3, and 4. We're going to save these to talk about in class. And now we're going to flip, to part B. It says, use what you have learned about portions to describe what portion of Rowena's sample is peanuts and what portion is raisins. Express each answer as a fraction and as a percent. So we have peanuts to raisins. So I would like you to fill this out. You need to do the portion, or what portion of Rowena's sample is peanuts and what portion is raisins. So the sample is that same one that we were just working with in part A, and you're going to do the peanuts, and you're going to do it as a fraction and as a percent for the peanuts and the raisins. Pause the video and answer that question, please. Okay, if you're back with me, that means you have answered part B. We're going to save part B and talk about it in class. So now 381 is what we're moving on to, which if you notice, it says it's right here at the bottom. It starts ways to write a ratio. And then if we flip it over. Just as you express portions in multiple ways, you can write a ratio in any of the 3 forms. With the word to, such as the ratio of raisins to peanuts is 4 to 1. In fraction form, such as the peanuts and raisins have a ratio of 1 peanut for 4 raisins. So that should be written as a fraction. And with a colon, such as the ratio of peanuts to raisins is 1 to 4. So when you're reading it out loud, the colon is also the word to. So I need to fix that. So part A says Sidra has a sample of trail mix containing 22 raisins and 28 peanuts. Use the bulleted list above to write the ratio of peanuts to raisins in her sample using 3 different methods. What would you have to change to write the ratio of raisins to peanuts? So we are going to actually pause the video, and I am going to have you try parts A, B, and C, and D in this question, 381, and we are going to save this to go over in class. So make sure you follow. The bulleted list is up here. You'll want to rate your ratio as that, and then you'll answer the question about the ratio of being raisins to peanuts. Go on to answer B, which is talking about ratios in simplified form. C is percent, and D is also percent. So C and D are percent. If you have any questions, please email me.